What's a skill that everyone should have? Basic first aid. Alongside cooking and basic shelter construction, and you can basically live off those three things. Knowing when it's better to keep one's mouth shut. I'm terrible at this. I always feel like sharing what I know or just breaking the silence. I have the opposite problem. It takes a lot of mental preparation for me to start talking, even if I already know what I'm supposed to say. I have two modes. Not being able to shut the hell up or being so uncomfortable I say about 3 words per hour. You'd think I'd be able to figure out how to balance these and meet somewhere in the middle, but nope. Same for me, but partly because of my speech issues. I don't want to f*** up talking and sound like an idiot, but I also think that the dumb shit I imagine is worth sharing, and my mind feels like going with one of those one day and one of those another. Basic understanding of taxes and financials. Learn how to read your paycheck. Understand what taxes are taken out, what insurances are taken out, what you are getting paid for, and keep track of your hours or salary. Make sure you are being paid what you should be. What do you do if you find you're being paid less than you should be, even if it's only $5 to $10 a week? Just tell them. Small or big business, they either don't want to get on trouble themselves, or after the awkwardness you'll be back paid and everything will be back to normal. It's not okay to feel bad for asking what you're meant to get. If parents can teach their kids critical thinking, cooking, basic economy and how to not be an they'll do alright. The rest is just nice to have. Man, I suck as a dad. Admitting you suck as a dad is the first step to being a good dad. 23 dysfunctional years later, my dad still thinks he's God's gift to parenting. Never too late. Learn how to apologize. It's okay to be wrong sometimes, and a gesture to rectify the situation after saying sorry goes a long way. To listen before talking. I hate it when I'm about to explain something but someone interrupts me right before it. Someone once told me listen with the intent to hear, not to speak, and it's been really good advice. Learning how to learn. Makes learning other things much easier. How does one learn how to learn? Negotiating a deal, whether it be accepting a job offer or buying a car, saying no to pushy people, and just generally dealing with difficult people. Not negotiating deals, but the saying no bit. I, like everyone, hate cold callers to my door. I used to be polite, say my nose and all that, while screaming internally for them to just go away. I've solved this by simple saying to everyone, be they religious, commercial or charitable, sorry, but I do not do any business at my door. If you have some literature you can leave, I will take that and make my own mind up. Works wonders, though now I am in my 40s I feel like I'm finally able to have a sign on my house that says, no cold callers. Critical thinking. The ability to critically analyze a situation is imperative for navigating personal and professional relationships. This and self-reflection I'd add. This. If you know people with no self-awareness, you probably have a desire to punch them regularly. I've had to eliminate them all from my life as I've gotten older. When you have self-awareness, you will always mentally outpace those who don't, leading to problems. All my close friends now are actively working to better themselves, even if slowly. Being able to swim. You don't need to be any good at it, but you should feel safe around bodies of water. I've learned to swim enough that I am confident I won't drown if I can get out of the water within 5 minutes. I don't feel safe surrounded by a body of water boating, and I never feel safe swimming around people I don't know or trust. Most reasonable people will have a life jacket on while boating anyway. If you're on a moving boat, there is no reason not to wear one. I'm a pretty decent swimmer, but you won't catch me in a large body of water without a life vest on. Laundry. When I was 8 months into my freshman year of university, there was one person in my classes who was basically bragging about not knowing how to use a washer or dryer. So when we pressed about what he's been wearing for 8 months, he said he was just re-wearing the same clothes. He dropped out because he was incapable of living by himself. There were other students who persevered in university with bad hygiene, severe weight gain, and other problems, all from utter lack of self-preservation. It was honestly scary, seeing the transformation of these dumb 18 to 19-year-olds, when they tried to be adults for the first time. I work in student accommodation, and we see so many of these people. Fun fact. It's apparently possible to survive on nothing but Cocoa Pops for 6 months. Although that guy was just a very picky eater, so not necessarily unable to cook. Just didn't want to. There was also a student who'd come from a country where it's quite normal for the wealthy to have household staff, and asked me to show her how to boil an egg. She'd never seen boiling water before and was absolutely transfixed by it bubbling in the pan. She did get better though. Saw her again a few months later and she was very proud of the roast duck she'd made. Kitchen looked like a war zone though. She never got the hang of cleaning up. Cooking. As someone who has been trying to learn and only finds really random stuff when they search, what would be some good resources for learning the basics of cooking? Basics with Babish or Gordon Ramsay's Ultimate Cookery course are decent to watch. Sewing. Especially if you buy cheap clothes on the internet. Just being able to reattach buttons keeps you from throwing a shirt out when a few fall off. But I've even gone as far as to buy a sewing machine so I can tailor my own clothes to fit me. Since slim fit shirts are hard to come by, and the ones I do find lack proper shoulder width, this has made owning clothing so much easier and less of a pain in the ass to try to buy. This actually meshes with the survival, woodsy stuff as well. I made a little Altoid tin backup survival kit with small versions of a couple basic and useful things: pen knife, fire steel, compass, Ziploc bag and water purification tablets, emergency whistle, band-aids, etc. But the most used part of it on our multi-day backpacking trip was the needle and fishing line I put in as an afterthought. If you're carrying everything you need to live on your back, repairing your gear can become pretty important pretty fast. Chewing with a closed mouth. Spatial awareness. Don't stand in the middle of a sidewalk, right in front of a doorway, or leave your shopping cart blocking an entire aisle. Don't block the exit door of a store either. You can put away your receipt or bag, box your stuff elsewhere. Same for stopping and standing at the top of an escalator. I've seen people take one step off and stop there to decide where to go next. How to Google something. My brother seems to have memorized 20 to 50 websites and will go there for his questions rather than Googling. I've tried to explain it to him but he's disinterested. Empathy. Changing a flat tire on your car and knowing how to jump a dead battery. I have to 100% agree with this. I am a mechanic by trade. The number of people that couldn't even point out where their spare tire tools even are is scary. I have a 2-year-old son, and eventually before he's allowed to drive he's going to demonstrate that he can change a tire. He absolutely doesn't need to know how to fix cars like I do. But I'll be damned if I'm being woken up in the middle of the night or called out of work cause he's got a flat tire. To use a turn signal. I feel even more offended when I get a single flash of a turn signal after they're already in my lane. It shows they are aware of the turn signal's existence. Yet they use it after the maneuver is done. What good does that do for me? Scientific literacy. How many problems could have been solved if people just knew what they were talking about? Doing taxes. Really should be a class for it in college or even high school. My school has this. We had to fill out a tax form, write checks, all sorts of stuff like that. Everyone should be able to listen to criticism and take useful bits and apply it to their lives, even if the criticism is mean. Being able to read body language. Learns to read body language. If someone has their arms crossed it means they are not interested in what you're saying. Go to interview and both managers are sitting with their arms folded before I start talking. Well, see. My problem is that crossing my arms is just the most comfortable way to have them and has no bearing on whether or not I care about what you have to say. Otherwise I have no idea what to do with my hands. I often cross them if my hands are cold, which they usually are. So reading body language can only take you so far. Thinking from other people's perspectives. Seriously, everyone would be kinder, calmer, funnier. For me, Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts were treasure troves of important life skills. I find people who can't tie knots, swim, cook a meal over an open fire, perform basic first aid, and I realize what a great opportunity that organization was for me growing up. Start investing as soon as you start working. Establish a relationship with a financial planner, even if you don't engage in a long-term strategy. It will change your life by putting context around your income, spending, and make you acutely aware of how much you need to stash away in order to reach major goals and eventually be able to retire. I was very fortunate to follow this advice, but am shocked to see many people in their 40s and 50s saying they need to start speaking a language. Yes, I think being able to speak at least one language is very useful. Typing. Everyone using a computer should know how to type on a keyboard without looking at the keys. I love my dad. He's 70. He's been using computers since they were programmed by punch cards. He still hunts and pecks. He plays PC games 8 hours a day and still can't type. Basic gun safety. No firearm discharge should be an accident. Whether or not people will come into contact with guns, everyone should absolutely know the very basic rules of firearms. Stuff like trigger discipline, safety on at all times until the moment you are ready to shoot. Trigger discipline. Point a gun only at something you are intending to shoot. Did I say trigger discipline?